Good day, everyone. Welcome back to a new session here on the Shift Network Sound Healing Summit. We always appreciate having you with us. And our featured guest coming up this time around is Jaime Tanna. Jaime Tanna is the founder of Energy Therapy and Total Energy Shift, with nearly 20 years of experience teaching thousands of clients and students both online and in person. As a medical health intuitive, Reiki master, and sound healer, his work blends deep intuitive wisdom with practical guidance, using insights gleaned from energy psychology, remote healing, energy medicine, sound healing, and the science of yoga. Jaime, welcome.
Thanks, Alex. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you here. I've been looking forward to getting you on here in this way for a while, so thank you for making the time to join us. And yeah, as we just noted in that quick bio, you've been involved in a rich variety of different mind, body, spirit practices and energy medicine modalities over the years. So to get us rolling, maybe tell us a little bit more about that background and for our purposes here, most importantly, how you came to incorporate sound work into your offerings.
I'd love to do that, Alec. It's an honor to be here and to share my teaching, my wisdoms that I've learned along the way with you and the audience. So my background actually was in many different areas. I was in advertising and marketing. I went into computing science, and I was working in a quote unquote regular job for a while. And then my father almost died, and he collapsed. He went into a coma, actually. And it was a big shock at the time. And I was desperately trying to find a way to help him recover. And the word Reiki at the time kept coming up for me. So that was actually my first foray into the world of energy and energy healing. And it was very interesting because a lot of the Reiki masters that I went to told me things that the doctors would tell me 2 or 3 weeks later. And even one master that I went to, she sent me information and she was abroad. And it was very concise, her information. So it really awoken something in me. And I was very, very, taken aback by how precise the information was. I was like, there's something real going on here, that somebody can read the energy of my father and actually give me this information. And then it can be validated through sort of what I would call the medical profession, like having his scans and the doctors giving me their notes. And then it was very interesting to me because I really fell in love with the energy work. I just really took to it like a duck, like water. And these same Reiki masters said to me, well, you're supposed to be doing this work. So kind of a light bulb moment went off. And I was like, ooh, okay. But I felt a lot of fear and anxiety about getting into that because I had my quote unquote secure job in the real world. And of course, stepping into the unknown. Although it's very rewarding, it also brings up a lot of fear usually. So I had to move through that for myself. How would people perceive me? What would my parents think? All that kind of stuff. And it was very interesting because that really catapulted me into a lot of different things. So I looked at spiritual response therapy, became a teacher in that modality, which is dowsing and clearing the Akashic records for my clients, clearing the energy bodies, looking with spirit to see what was going on. So I really understood that there was a deep psycho-spiritual component to everybody's health, and that when doctors say psychosomatic, they're sometimes being disparaging, but actually we are, psychophysical and psycho-spiritual beings. And then to get to the point, really sound found me because during my Karuna Reiki training, that particular training brings in the voice. And what I realized was that my voice was changing and all these harmonics were coming from singing these particular mantras or symbols. And so I was very curious about that. And I found the work of Jonathan Goldman and yourself, and I was guided to go to the Rocky Mountains and do the Healing Sounds retreat with Jonathan and Andy. And it was a beautiful experience and really connected me in a deep way to sound. It really helped me understand what was going on with myself. and I got introduced to the didgeridoo, which was, I felt like I'd played it before. There was something in my Akashic that was my higher self was speaking to me. And of course, the beautiful Kimber Arem was there and she was playing, and I was just so mesmerized by the harmonics and the rhythms and it was just so beautifully grounding and at the same time awakening for me. And so it's been many years, of course, since I've been to the Rockies, and really a lot of things have integrated for me in a deep way. And I like to bring in sound as a powerful modality in its own right. And I use it separately, but I also use it in conjunction, because I listen to my clients and I sort of ask myself, what does that person really need? And then depending on what is being activated in consciousness at that time, I will use the particular instruments that I feel intuitively guided to.
It is a powerful synergy, and I imagine you can say more, but I often refer to sound as sort of the gateway energy modality, because sound is in that bandwidth, that very physical bandwidth of energy that everyone can hear and feel, whereas some of these more subtle energetics, based more on visualization and maybe some specialized skills that people can develop, not everyone can see auras or perhaps feel energy, but everyone can hear and feel sound. So that's what makes it a great modality. But in addition, you mentioned the Healing Sounds intensive training and other trainings. In addition to the studies, do you have any other particular personal experiences with sound that were particular peak experiences or inspirational moments?
Well, I've seen a lot in my time during the last 17 years working with clients one-to-one and in groups. And there's been really a lot that's changed for me. But I think one of my standout experiences that really brought home how powerful sound can be, as you said, it's quite tangible. It sort of bridges the sort of interdimensional consciousness that we are with this kind of very real world that we live in. And I remember, actually, from a client perspective, a client came to me and she had what's termed a non-union fracture. And that had been, so a broken femur bone. And that had been going on for 13 months, if I remember correctly. And usually after 8 or 9 months, the bone surgeon will say, okay, that's it. There's nothing we can do. We have to operate. So she was actually faced, she'd kind of pushed them away, and she'd said, okay, I'm not doing that. I don't really want to have surgery because they would have to shave the bone down and glue the leg together, of course, and that would create a short leg. And it was, very distressing for her. So I said, well, look, let's do some energy work around this. Let's clear the Akashic field. Let's use applied kinesiology, which was what I was doing at the time, and this system called spiritual restructuring. And I was getting a clean signal from the body that the body was strong after doing this work, that it was no longer testing weak. And I said, let's use sound, because sound creates form. I knew that from all the studies that I'd done, and I'd seen of course, those beautiful cymatic frequencies that when you use sound, you get these harmonics coming through, and they're actually these structures that are coming through in sound. And I said, look, through intentionality, we can use the sound vibrations to sort of go into the bone structure as well and help bring through whatever spirit can do. And I said, well, look, I don't have an X-ray machine, so you're going to have to go to your bone surgeon. But in vibrational time, you want to wait, because we throw that pebble into the water, and of course we get the ripples. But we need to wait, a week or 2 weeks, a month. We don't know. It's vibrational time. I find quite fascinating, really, that we are in this kind of clock time here on Earth, but we also, intuitively, we feel an inner shift when we're healing, and then that has to sort of manifest in some way. So we need that kind of buffer of time to work with. So we did a session. I said, I'm getting a strong response. We did a follow-up just in case, because she hadn't got the appointment with the bone surgeon for a while. And literally, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks later, she had the follow-up session with the surgeon. She didn't really say what she was doing, because she didn't want to be seen as crazy or woo-woo or whatever. But she said, look, I just want you to take another x-ray just in case, there's been some change. And he agreed, and he said, okay, let's have another look. So he took an x-ray, and it was amazing, because the bone was showing as clearly healing. And he didn't even, say anything was different. He just said, oh, it's healing. You're okay. Well, no surgery required. And it didn't compute with him that there had been some sudden shift. in her consciousness or in her physicality. So that was really amazing to me and brought home the power of sound. And then more recently, I was guided to do plant medicines. So I did a plant medicine retreat in Spain in 2020, the crazy year. And I was actually traveling quite a lot during that year because I was actually in the middle of moving country. So I was leaving Cyprus with my wife and son, and we were actually on our way to Bali when the pandemic hit. And we got stuck in London. But I was really being called to do plant medicine that year. And I couldn't get to Peru, but a window opened up in Spain. And it was really, really wonderful because actually, plant medicine is not for everybody, but for me, I was just having this deep calling to go. And it wasn't just the medicine, it was the Icaros, it was the singing, it was the vibration of the sound. I remember in ceremony that when the shaman started singing, my whole body started moving with the sound and was being pulled in different directions and being rotated and being breathed by this beautiful energy and sound. And actually, it rinsed me out in the end. I mean, I had a full Kundalini awakening during that experience. So somebody said to me, "Oh, you'll be lucky if you see a few visions." So I kind of was like, "Oh, it's okay, I'll be fine." And actually, this thing was a full blown somatic embodied experience that just really took me by surprise. It was so powerful. And the sound, that frequencies were creating these beautiful geometries in my head. I could see all of them and I could experience these waves of energy, but it was physically moving my body, the medicine and the Icaros together, physically moving my body in ways that were breathing me in ways that were really quite extraordinary. So I was so grateful because to the universe, I was asking for some sort of insight into this plant medicine. I've been called to it for quite some years. And then it combined with this beautiful sound energy and this magic that came through my body. And it was just so grounded in me. It took me a while to come down from that experience. But it really brought home the power of sound, to shift consciousness, to really awaken at the cellular level that dynamic healing inside of all of us.
Yeah, that's a big and fascinating topic. As yet another power of sound, I think, is very powerful, natural ways to shift and change one's consciousness. Without the assistance of other substances, which is also an outstanding thing. But the sound work can get you there in very potent ways in and of itself. And I love the story about the bone healing. That's just another great validation. Third dimension material plane results. So that's ultimately the real deal. It's like, what are the real results and benefits that people receive? So thank you for sharing that. So I do want to come back and talk more about your work, your session work, and your work with clients, but maybe take a slight pivot for a minute into the realm of like the personal practices, because I know you're deeply involved with many things, but in particular, I believe you had an exercise experience that you wanted to share with people that they can do for themselves early in the day or in the morning to give themselves a quick sonic tune-up to get them harmonized to roll through their day's activities. Would you like to share that now?
I'd love to share that, Alec. It'd be my honor to share that with people here, because for me, the most beautiful thing we can do when we awaken from our dream state and we come into this quote unquote real world is to really get in tune with ourselves and to vibrate in tune with ourselves and to feel that aliveness inside of us. So yes, I'd love to share that with you right now. So when you wake up in the morning, obviously you open your eyes and you've come back into this very 3D space after journeying with spirit. It's really good to just be quiet and still inside yourself and find that inner space of awareness, and to set your intention to align with your higher consciousness for the day ahead. So I'm just going to take you through a basic routine that I'd like you to do, and that will help you feel much more energized as you move through your day. And if you spend 5 or 10 minutes doing this every day, you'll find that you will meet your day with much more aliveness and attention and awareness, and everything will flow much better for you. So the first part is just very, very simple. So this part I'm doing standing up, you can do outside in the sunlight. Maybe if there's a patch of earth, grass, or if you're by the sea, put your feet in the sand. If you do it outside, even better. Of course, if that's not possible, do it inside and maybe just open a window and be somewhere where there's sunlight. So first of all, I would just tell you to shake your hands and your wrists and just flick the energy off of them. So you're just going to do that a few times. And if you want to, just sigh and let go. So again, breathe in and sigh. And let's do that one more time. Breathe in and sigh. Good. And then from here, I just like you to roll the shoulders and just squeeze the sides of the neck, the thyroid, the parathyroid here. And again, let's do it the other way. And just connecting with your breath and sound, just sighing if you need to. And then what I'd like you to do is take your feet slightly out, maybe hip width apart. And I'd like you to bend the knees if that's comfortable for you. And then we're just going to take the hands like so. So thumbs are touching the fingers and the palms are face up. And you're just going to inhale and then take your hands above your head and just come down and imagine you're clearing the center line of your body. And take the hands out like this. And then out. So you breathe in, hands to the side. Hands come up. You can look up if that's comfortable for you. Come down with the intention of clearing. And then inhale. Send light through your aura and then come back down. And again, let's do that one more time. It's a very simple practice, but it does clear energy through the central column, and then send energy through your body, through your aura as well, and then just come back to sort of standing, just hip width apart. Push your left hand to the side. Actually, if I'm mirroring you, this would be push your right hand to the side and take your arm up, and then just bend. You just can bend the elbow here. So this isn't for like yogis who can do extreme side bending, and you're just going to brush and stroke this side body here. It feels very nice. And you're just clearing this pathway here. And then reach up and take the arm down and the other side. So again, just stretch and bend and then just stroke one side and then the other. So we're just setting up our practice for the mat. And stretch up and just let it go. And again, if you want to, just roll the shoulders back one way and then the other way. So I'm kind of wearing half yoga clothes, half top, because it's kind of cold in Cape Town where I am. I'm going to come back down to the mat. So yoga mat is useful because it protects you from the hard floor. You can obviously do it on another mat of your choosing, but I would recommend a yoga mat that's because it's more comfortable. So what I'd like you to do is to, first of all, when you come out of bed and you've done a bit of yoga chi, I'd like you to just put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and just sort of tuck the tailbone and then push the tailbone away. And what you're going to do is you're just going to connect your back with the floor as you sort of tuck. And then as you push away the tailbone, you'll find there's a sort of a gap here. So you're just connecting with your own sort of sense of fluidity in the spine and in the pelvis. And then you can keep the left knee bent if you wish, and you can pull the right knee in towards the chest. So this is wind relieving pose in yoga. If you're more flexible and you feel more open, you can just stretch the left leg out. And you just really want to compress into that right hip and then just do some gentle rotations. So maybe 3. And I'd like you to also bring in sound in this portion of the exercise. So from here, just kind of sing to yourself, just and make it a low sound, because the lower, the better, goes into the root chakra, Muladhara. So if you know how to do harmonics, if you can move the tongue and make some other sounds, this is such a nice way to wake up the body in the morning, and you can just flex feet. So there's no stress or strain. It's just a gentle movement practice. So again, do the other side. So this time, the left leg, you can keep the knee bent if that's more comfortable for you. If you're less flexible or you feel you need that support of the leg. And again, rotate one way 3 times or 5 times even, and just sting to your hip, sting to the pelvis, this supportive structure that carries you all the time in the day. So there's no hard and fast rules about this practice, which is what I like about it. It's just feeling your way to waking up into alignment. And then from here, if it's there for you, you draw both knees in, reach forward and grab a wrist. And this will mean that your shoulders and your neck come off the ground. So if you have a pillow, you may want to grab one, because you don't need to make this so yogic. In traditional yoga, you'd have your neck with the back of your head flat on the ground. You can just have something very supportive here, and just grab your knees, grab a wrist, put your hands over your knees like this, and then just a gentle kind of rocking motion. That rocking motion for me represents, the geometric figure of 8. And it's why, we love being rocked as babies. We're just connecting with this deeper intelligence within us, this movement, this fluidity of energy that starts from, that gentle rocking and then vibrates all the way up to our higher consciousness, our higher awareness. And when you do this, of course, you're compressing into the transverse colon here, but you're just finding that connection through that gentle rocking. If you want stillness after rocking for a bit, that's fine. And then from there, just release, put the legs down, then draw the knees back up and just do a very gentle twist. So you can keep the knees as high as is comfortable for you. So I'm dropping my knees down to one side. You can use your opposite hand on top. And then if there's enough space, you can reach the arm out, if that's comfortable, or you can just sort of do a twist and look to one side. And again, just feel this kind of this breath coming up into the upper lung here. And again, sighing and, just feeling. The sighing is very important, actually, because somatically, you're connecting with your breath and the sound, the inner sound. So it's very important not just to sort of breathe, but to actually engage with the sound aspect, okay? So that's also letting the body go into a more relaxed state. So it's overriding the sympathetic nervous system and coming more into a parasympathetic response. So again, if it's comfortable for you, on the other side, again, you can keep the elbow slightly bent, or you can extend it. And again, just find a kind of a slight rocking motion. Breathe so that you're breathing up into that upper portion of the lung, and now sigh into that space. A nice deep sighs. Again, a little bit of stillness in between is fine. You can keep, if you have the pillow, then you like, I'm actually going to keep it there for me. I also recommend pushing the pelvis up. Now, if you're more yogic, you can just quickly take a yogic position and push up. It's very important to keep the neck straight here and do not twist the neck. And then just come down. If you've done that, release the arms, push up again, and then just do some gentle hip rotations. So one way, 3 times. And remember to make it very conscious. So you're sweeping the floor as you move. And again, that sound, making that sound, in a safe space. And you breathe in and then just letting go. That sort of audible sound is very important. And as you come back down, I'd like you to then take the right leg up and then just shake the leg as if you've got chewing gum on it. Just shake off any sort of stuckness in the knee, in the ankle, in the toes. Same on the other side. Just kind of shake the foot, shake it quite vigorously, and it goes all the way into the hip, which is very, very soothing and healing at the same time. And there's a vibration there, so there's a sound. And then last but not least, once you've done this kind of waking up practice, you can take, if it depends on your strength, I'm going to come down a little bit on the yoga mat. So I'm going to come down here. We're not going to do anything crazy like wheel. I just wanted you to strengthen the sort of shoulder and the arms here. So you just put the hands, you may need some props here if you've got short arms, but just put your hands next to your head. And all I want you to do is just kind of lift the upper body off the ground, just for a microsecond, just lifting and strengthening. And again, coordinating with the breath. And then take the arms into sort of a hug. And sigh again into the heart space. And one more time. And just giving yourself this beautiful hug, this warm hug in the morning. Very, very nice. And then just center yourself for a moment. Just feel energetically and physically how everything has changed in that very short time. And then just to end the practice, I'd like to do what's called spinal rocking. So this is where you literally just rock up and hold the knees. And if you can, straighten your spine. And then you come back down and you take the legs up and over the head. Now, if you know how to do plow, that's fine. If you don't have to do plow, you just come back down, use the elbows for support, and come back up. So I'll do that again. Come back down, legs over, and then using the elbows for support, rock back down, and come back up. And in the Tibetan practice, so if anyone's come across the series called the 5 Tibetans, they normally do 21. Now, if you've never done spinal rocking, I suggest you start with maybe 5 to 7 in the morning. And once you finish those 5 to 7, just lie down in Shavasana. So I'll do that with you now. And just after that very still practice, bring a sense of aliveness to yourself. Let go of the breath eventually. And just spend, a minute or two visualizing your day ahead. Who will you meet? What projects will you create? How will you meet the day? Just set an intention. What kind of energy do you wish to put into that future time that's coming very close to you right now? And you'll see that when you're in this space of quiet, after doing that, your energy is much more full in a way. You have much more power inside of your being because you're tapped into that source within you, that inner being, that aliveness. And it will be a joyful visualization rather than something you're striving for. And if you don't feel like visualizing, you can just stay in silence and in appreciation. And for your body, for where you are, for your family, your work, whatever comes naturally to you. And if you want just complete silence and stillness of the mind, that's fine too. So stay here for as long as you would like, and I will see you back.
Very good. Well, thank you for sharing. As the synergy between yoga and sounding can be a big topic, very profound, and can get very involved. But I think just hopefully people take away from that, in your own way, just some simple movements, get the body moving, combined with the synergy of giving yourself the internal massage via the vocal toning. So, take some of the suggestions that Jaime shared and make it your own. Just get moving and sounding to start your day. While we're in that experiential mode, you just shared this sound and movement exercise. I understand you also like to share some of the sounds of some of the instruments you work with. Would you like to flow into that now as well? And we can come back and talk about things more later. But now, let the sound speak.
Sounds like a wonderful idea, Alec. I'd love to do that. So I just invite you all to close your eyes, maybe put your hands in prayer, if you feel like touching your heart with one hand and just finding your breath and your inner sense of space inside. And just asking your inner being for guidance on anything that you'd like, and asking that your heart is open, and listening to the sounds of the hang or the handpan as I play.
thank you for sharing that. That is an enchantingly beautiful sound, and there are so many different types of hand pans out there. And when I first became aware of it was the Hong was one of the first on the market. What type of instrument is that you're playing there?
So originally the Hang came out of Panart in Switzerland. They were the original makers, and eventually they started letting go of making the handpan progressed onto the Gubal. So this is technically a Hang, but it's called a handpan due to copyright or international trademark law. It's not allowed to be called a Hang anymore. So the makers professionally around the world who are making exceptional handpan are calling them handpan basically. Yeah. So that's the reason for the change, Alec. It's the legal aspect, but it's still the same concept in that you have the ding in the middle and the beautiful sort of tabla-like field around it, and the sort of gong aspect to it, plus the beautiful tonal fields, and then it synergizes everything together as one beautiful orchestra.
Yeah, because that was a beautiful sounding one. It's some of the more recent hand pans. The sound is, sound quality can vary, but that one was exceptional. It's very on par with the original Hong. So thank you for that.
Very well.
Yeah. So I'd also like to share the energetics of another one of the instruments that you're interested in, but we'll close the session on that. You can just ride us out on a current of sound. But so before we do that, just to make sure we don't run out of time, if people would like to connect with you and find out more details about your work, where's the best place to go?
So Alex, the best place to contact me is on my website, so www.energytherapy.biz. And if people go to the online sessions, underneath the menu, there's how to work with me one-to-one, how to have a direct sound experience with me, or how to clear the soul Akashic record. And I will also have on the website very shortly the total frequency shift program, which is my vision for the next 5 years, I would say, at least, bringing together and synergizing everything that I've really learned over the last 17 years to help people really be their most authentic and best selves, so they can really be in that sort of radiant space of spirit and be able to manifest with great ease whatever they really truly wish. Because when you're in that space of aliveness, whatever comes your way, then the tools in that program will give people the ability to do that right from the get-go. They will be able to, work on all levels of their consciousness, which I'm really excited about.
Beautiful, and that's the total frequency shift program. And I also noticed that you do offer the distance healings. That is a fascinating topic. Tell us a little bit more about that. Your work with the distance healing and remote viewing, and how those influences play into your work and the experiences that people have with it.
Sure. It's been sort of bread and butter for me really since 2008, 2009. My work really took off globally, and I was working more energetically and remotely with people in the USA, in Canada, in Australia, in Europe. And it was fascinating to me because I love talking to people. And of course, that's part of the work, is to really listen and understand what's going on with a person's journey, what's really happening at those deep levels of awareness. The interesting thing is that we are connected beyond time and space. We are literally, we as physical bodies, you and I are separate. So if I want to come and see you, I have to get on a plane and I have to journey to wherever you are in the world, and we connect, physically, but non-physically, sort of interdimensionally through our higher selves. We do exist in this energetic quantum soup. And what's fascinating to me is when I'm working with a client, I can just literally, through intention, just link with their higher self consciousness. And I can ask spirit, what are the energies that are running in their Akashic record? Can I clean the energies? There's a basic question. Can I, when spirit shows me there's some underpinning emotional, mental energy that's going on, that's sitting as a program, literally in their very cells of their body. And of course, when you clean the non-physical, you're also cleaning the cellular structure of the body, which is incredible to me still, even today. So it all happens in real time. And as I spoke about before, there's this sort of pebble effect, where you throw the pebble in the pond and there's this time that it takes for the ripples to cross the pond. And so things happen very quickly in what I call no time, or in that sort of space of spirit. And then the sort of body consciousness starts to express that, which is really fascinating. And the clients feel that somatically. So it's not just a mental, oh, I've been healed. It's quite often I've had skeptical people coming, and then they feel real changes going on, and their perception is different. So their biology is different, or their interpretation of life is different. So it's a wonderful synergistic process with spirit.
And I imagine those sessions vary greatly from individual to individual. Would they consist of you playing sounds for them, or reading into them, encouraging them to make certain sounds of their own for their own personal frequency shifting?
I do bring in sound where I feel it's appropriate. Sometimes it's more talking and cleaning of energy and breath work. So it really is tailored to the client and the needs of the session, and what the client feels comfortable with. So if I've been working with someone for a long time and they're sort of more, or they've been doing a lot of work on themselves for a long time, they may be more open to making those vocalizations of sound. So we can do more of that stuff. If somebody's fairly new and a little bit more timid, let's say, then maybe the first portion is more about cleaning the Akashic record and cleaning the energy body, and then allowing that client to kind of come into that wholeness and integrity. And then from that space, maybe in the second session, we can get into more of the sound portion.
Yeah, but as we were saying earlier in the show, that the beautiful synergy between all of these energy medicine approaches and philosophies, along with the literal physical plane sound. So I guess it varies. We are all unique vibratory beings, as Jonathan Goldman often says, and having that's beautiful. You just have that rich palette and variety of offerings to really weave them together depending on the client's needs. So good stuff. So now we are winding down to our final minutes. So once again, people find your way to energytherapy.biz, which I'm sure will be linked below, to look at more of Jaime's offerings. And there is truly a wealth of information on that site on sound and all variety of mind, body, spirit, and energy medicine topics. So I encourage you to find your way there and enjoy, because it's something there for everyone, I believe. So on that note, we're about to sign off, but I'll also note that we're going to have, if you would like, to have you take us out on a little journey on another one of your favorite instruments, the didgeridoo. We'll ride out on a little didgeridoo journey. But anything you would like to say about the instrument before we say goodbye?
Yes, I would love to say just that the authentic didgeridoos, yodaki they're called, come normally from Australia, and they're from places like Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory. And the reason they're didgeridoos is they have a deep connection to Mother Earth. And the reason they have the deep connection is at least twofold. One is that the didgeridoos are hollowed out by termites. So if you look down a didgeridoo, you'll see all the indentations and markings that show that the instrument was created literally from the land by these wonderful, beautiful, sentient beings. And then the didgeridoo, the tribes, it's usually the men actually that go into dream time, into an altered state of consciousness. They go into the wilderness and they listen to the trees, and they hear the sound in that altered state of consciousness, and they cut the tree or they cut the bark, and they bring it back, and then it's usually the tribal women paint the markings on the didgeridoo. But if you just cut a tree and you call it a didgeridoo, you just hollow out. There are makers who just hollow out pieces of wood and they call it a didgeridoo. That's not really the authentic connection that you want. So when you play, there's something deeper going on for me with the instrument. There's a real sacredness to the instrument because of the process that it's been through.
Beautiful. And also another big topic. There's a deep, rich history and traditions behind the didgeridoo. But we will let the didgeridoo speak for itself in a few moments. But for now, we'll just wrap things up and say, Jaime, a pleasure having you today. Thank you for joining us.
It's been a real pleasure, Alec. I hope everyone's enjoyed. I've really enjoyed being here. So I'd like to take you out with the didgeridoo, with the beautiful harmonics and the rhythms of the didgeridoo. I invite you actually, because it's such a playful instrument, to also become your own didgeridoo. So my 6-year-old son, he loves playing the didgeridoo with me, but children hum all the time. And I'd like people, you just, if you're with me, just to place your fingertips on your lips and just to vibrate the lips. And you can practice in your own time, just that practice of, and you can tighten the lips and put your voice on it. So just that alone connects you to the didgeridoo, actually. And it's such a fun thing. If people call it blowing a raspberry or making horse lips, but I do it all the time, even before I came across the didgeridoo. It's such a fun thing to do, and it gets us into that inner child mode. So if you feel like doing that with me, by all means do.
That's a great tip for people to share in the experience, and a little rudimentary technique of some foundations of the didge playing. But so on that note, I will sign off and say thank you all for listening here. We appreciate you joining us, and encourage you to come on back, because there is more to come here on the Shift Network Sound Healing Summit. And we'll see you next time. But for now, let's ride out on the sound current of the didgeridoo sounds from Jaime. Thank you.
Awesome.